It's Monday, the 9th of August. My name's Juan Brown. You're watching the Blanco Lirio channel. And on the 7th of August, a Mooney 1992 M20-M model, or Bravo Series Mooney, November 9156 Zulu, went down in Victoria, Minnesota, while on an IFR flight plan from Alexandria, Minnesota to Flying Cloud Airport in Minnesota. He was attempting the ILS runway 10 right. At the time, the weather was 1,100 foot overcast. And though there were thunderstorms reported in the area, we don't know if the thunderstorms were a factor or were even involved on this instrument approach. The 72-year-old pilot, a local well-known surgeon in the area, and 2 of his family members were killed in the crash. According to the FAA database, this 72-year-old pilot received his private pilot's license in 2016 and also held an instrument rating. He was also the owner of the aircraft involved in this accident. There's a lot of information out there about this accident at this time, including an eyewitness report, a young man fishing on the lake that witnessed the Mooney descending from the clouds out of control while heading towards the ground. And then there is a door camera video footage that shows the aircraft slamming into the ground with both wings folded up. Both wings folded up. Structural failure of this aircraft right about here, just about outboard of the main landing gear where the wing joint is made in the Mooney. Just outboard of this joint is the fuel tank. Also, according to the NTSB report, the left horizontal stabilizer and left elevator was found 1.5 blocks away from the crash. According to ADSB data, this aircraft came down at a very high rate of descent, all the way up from over 2,000 feet, perhaps a little bit higher. In other words, the high rate of descent began while this aircraft was still in the weather. So that to me indicates that this pilot had a loss of control of this aircraft while attempting the ILS approach into runway 10 right at Flying Cloud Airport, and subsequently oversped or over-G'd the aircraft, folding the wings and slamming into the ground. And this is an all too often case with these light aircraft, high-performance aircraft. This is a Mooney M20J, a Mooney 201 as we used to call it. The Mooney series of aircraft is a great series of aircraft. I used to own an M20E. They're very fuel efficient, fast cross-country machines. Normally, like this aircraft, the Mooney series for years was powered by the 200 horsepower Lycoming. This Bravo series aircraft, they bumped the engine up to a TIO 540 engine, a larger 6-cylinder engine, creating a little bit bigger, heavier model of the Mooney aircraft. These are very slippery aircraft. That is to say, they are aerodynamically very clean. Just at cruise speed alone, you are operating very close to the yellow line and are not too many knots away from red line. Of course, there are no black boxes available on these light aircraft. The NTSB may be able to acquire a little bit of data from the engine on this accident aircraft, but they're going to have to surmise what happened primarily based on ADSB data. And right now, looking at the ADSB data and the eyewitness reports and the video camera footage, this looks to me to be a classic case of the pilot losing control of the aircraft while in instrument meteorological conditions, IMC conditions. In other words, he's in the clouds, he can't see outside, and for whatever reason, whether it was spatial disorientation or a problem with the flight instrumentation or a problem with the autopilot on the aircraft, assuming that this aircraft had an autopilot, the pilot lost control of the aircraft, potentially oversped the aircraft, and apparently over-G'd or overstressed the aircraft, thus folding the wings and losing complete control of the aircraft, resulting in the very high rate of descent and subsequent crash. This is a rather frequently occurring scenario, especially in general aviation aircraft, loss of control in IMC conditions. The NTSB will be looking back at the pilot's flight training record, currency, They also need to rule out the possibility of any medical situation, but there was no calls of distress on the ATC audio tapes, which are already available out there from the pilot, and the communications sounded to me as if the pilot was becoming overloaded with task saturation. This is the same scenario that gave the Beechcraft Bonanza the nickname the V-tail Doctor Killer, as professionals could afford to buy these aircraft and then learn how to fly them and get their instrument rating pretty quickly without a whole lot of experience, and then subsequently end up losing control of these aircraft while in the weather. And in the case of the Beechcraft Bonanza, the first thing to fail on the Bonanza would be the butterfly tail on that design. As long as these aircraft are operated within their design limitations, they are an excellent, excellent design. But it's very easy to operate these aircraft outside of their design limitations if you lose control of the aircraft, especially in the weather due to spatial disorientation. Thanks so much for your support of this channel, especially over here on Patreon, that makes this content possible. See you here.